Hines is proud to partner The Urbanist on Monocle Radio. Hines is a leading global real estate investment manager. Hines owns and operates $93 billion of assets across property types and on behalf of a diverse group of institutional and private wealth clients. Hines' ambition? Well, in the words of its chairman and CEO, Jeffrey Hines, to be the best real estate investor, manager and partner in the world. Find out how Hines is making that dream a reality. Head to hines.com now. Hines, a leader in real estate investing and management since 1957. What's your favourite way to get across the city? Maybe you like watching the world go by from the upper deck of a bus. Perhaps taking in the urban scenery on a bicycle is your preferred method. Or, in Ottawa, during the coldest months, do you don skates and slide your way from A to B? You're listening to Tool Stories, a Monocle production, brought to you by the team behind The Urbanist. I'm Andrew Tuck. In this episode, Paul Logothetis takes us to the world's longest natural frozen skating rink.
In Canada's capital city of Ottawa snakes the Rideau Canal, a national landmark and UNESCO World Heritage Site. In operation since 1832, the Rideau Canal is credited as a design and development cornerstone in establishing the city of Ottawa. The canal stretches some 200 kilometers, connecting Ottawa as far west as Kingston through slackwater canals that historically served commercial purposes and functioned as the principal travel route for immigrants once they had landed in Canada. The turn of the 20th century began a redevelopment of the canal within Ottawa, with a focus on aesthetics and urban livability leading to the creation of a parkway along it, called Queen Elizabeth Drive, and the dismantling of rail lines and the redevelopment of green spaces along it. Then, during the winter of 1970-71, crowds decided to clear a patch of ice for skating, marking the start of the development of the Rideau Canal Skateway. This is the world's largest outdoor skating rink, welcoming over 1 million annual visitors when the weather is right, and offering those who slide on it a chance to traverse 8 kilometers of the city and its history on skates.
The history of the canal and that portion that runs through the city is so tightly connected with the history of Ottawa as such, right? Ottawa comes to be here in part because of the location of the canal. If you start at the top of the canal, the locks that descend into Ottawa River, on the east side of those locks is the Chateau Laurier, on the west side is Parliament Hill, and a little farther west from there is the Supreme Court. Then on the other side of the road, you've got Ottawa's old Union Station, which is the current home of the Senate. Then just across the canal from that, you've got the National Arts Centre. Skate down the canal a little ways, you're going to pass through a number of other important bridges and past institutions like the University of Ottawa, and eventually end up, at my own institution, Carleton University. So the canal and the skateway are able to kind of connect those things, not just sort of physically in terms of people getting around, but also symbolically in terms of the history of the city and what that means.
That was Jessica Parrish from Carleton University, whose research work focuses on urban sustainability and development and the gentrification of urban spaces. She's also an avid user of the skateway and, like many, can enjoy these traveling snapshots into the city's history, which also shed a spotlight on less well-known landmarks like the Corktown Bridge, with its nod to the labourers of the canal from Ireland's County Cork region. There's the Frank Lloyd Wright-inspired lampposts that line the canal, designed to look like white glass globes. There's the Lansdowne Stadium development with its sports, entertainment, and shopping venues. On the ice, meanwhile, the party comes alive every February with the annual Winterlude Festival for young and old. And for those particularly chilly days, the warming huts where you can stop for a break and a beaver tail, an iconic sweet pastry that takes its name from Canada's well-known rodent, are well enjoyed.
There's a lot of individual freedom there, I guess. It's also, winters in Canada are long. And one of the great things about Ottawa is that it is one of the cities that attempts to embrace winter, or to give people opportunities, to get outside and enjoy some, outdoor recreation and socialization in those long winter months. I think the canal, the skateway, is a really tremendous example of a public luxury, right? Because it is free and technically available and accessible to everyone. and it requires a lot of money and work to maintain it.
While the ice allows commuters to ditch motorized transport for skates, Parish points out how the canal's location makes it somewhat of a luxury of accessibility to this particular sector of the population from these neighborhoods that don't really need any extra skate up since they are already enjoying the benefits of socioeconomic privilege.
When we think about the canal, the skateway, not only in isolation, but in terms of the broader city in which it's situated, we have to also acknowledge that the parts of the city that it passes through, while I already mentioned, are adjacent to some of the most important institutions in the city. They're also, adjacent to some of the most wealthy parts of the city as well, right? And when I mentioned income polarization and inequality, what that means is that sort of middle income households are declining and lower and higher income households are on the rise. And that has distinct spatial characteristics. So we see that those sort of rising income neighborhoods are more in the center, closer to environmental amenities, including the canal.
The other problem with a public luxury dependent on cold weather means global warming is also influencing the skateway in a major way. This year's run of 52 days matched the annual average until a recent warm and wet spell of weather led to its closure last week. Researchers and engineers from Carleton University are working closely with the National Capital Commission, which operates the skateway, to understand the ice, how it forms, and how best to maintain it under the wear and tear of all those skate blades to ensure it remains long-term. There was only 10 days of skating last year and none the year prior, making this season's feel so special. The record 92 days of skating from 1972 looks like a relic of the past, making every season on the skateway even more significant, considering its uncertain future in an ever-warming world.
Tall Stories is a Monocle production from the team behind The Urbanist. This episode was written by Paul Logothetis and produced and edited by David Stevens. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive new episodes every week. I'm Andrew Tuck. Goodbye, and thank you for listening, City Lovers.